So tonight is All-Star Night at the Convention Centre in Dublin. The football 15 will be revealed later on, but it's a magnificent 7 for Tipperary in this year's hurling team. And to run the rule over the 2019 selection, delighted to welcome back to the programme former Waterford manager Derek McGrath. And Derek, we'll get straight into it. I suppose the most hotly disputed position was probably the number 1 jersey. Tipperary's Brian Hogan got the nod in the end, his first award. Who would you have gone for?
Yeah, well, look, I was involved in a programme in terms of not alone the Sunday game programme, but a programme with Lark Corbett during the summer, and I went for Brian Hogan. I know it's caused a bit of a stir, particularly probably in Kilkenny, in that Murphy had a very good year, albeit he came late to the party, and that I think his first game was actually the round robin game against Wexford in Wexford Park. But yeah, he's been fantastic in the goal for Kilkenny. But I think Brian Hogan has been very steady all year, and I think sometimes when a team wins in All Ireland, there's a kind of a tendency to overlook the goalie of the winning team at times. It's happened over the years. With Stephen Cluxton, even in Dublin, he's overlooked the last couple of years. And I think what the selectors have done is they've gone on the 6 or 7 games that he's played throughout the year, and he's been very steady. His puck percentage in the final, it's similar to Nicky Quaid's in terms of last year's final. And I think even in the defeated Munster final, he made 3 or 4 brilliant saves in the first half against Limerick. So for me, it was like a very, very tight call between Brian Hogan and Owen Murphy, with Brian Hogan marginally taking it, and not forgetting, I think, Enda Rowland from Laois had a brilliant year as well. Yeah,
and like Brian Hogan, he emulates his dad Ken, I suppose, as well, winning an All-Star between the posts. Looking at the 6 backs, Derek, you've Sean Finn of Limerick, you've 4 from Tipperary, Demars, Ronan, Brendan and Páirce, along with Cathal Barrett, and then you have Kilkenny's Padraig Welch as well from Kilkenny. Could cases be made for Liam Ryan and Matthew Hanlon of Wexford here?
Yeah, I think, look, it's very hard to kind of be hypocritical on it, Tomas, and that those 6 backs that would have been my 6 backs, if you want me to be completely honest. I think the 3 Mars, Brendan Maher has been able to double job all year in terms of taking down the best players on the opposition teams and still hurling himself. I think Pádraig Maher has been a stalwart and Ronan Maher has shown great versatility and be able to go back full back in 2 or 3 crucial matches and playing centre back in other matches. So I think Tipperary have benefited because of their versatility, and ironically, Wexford have probably suffered because of their versatility in that Liam Ryan plays full back by number, if you like. But you saw he got a great point off the run there against Tipperary in the semi-final of the All Ireland, and Matthew Hanlon has done great man marking jobs on TJ Reid and on Joe Canning and others throughout the year. So they've almost suffered for not for the way they play, but it's very hard to argue against the 6 backs that have been picked. Even if you look at Richie English for Limerick, was having a fantastic year up to the Kilkenny game, was probably a shoe-in for cornerback. Sean Finn and Cathal Barrett are so I think they've got it right in terms of the backs. Pádraig Welch again, first match he played at midfield against Dublin. Brian, reconfigured the team at half-time, put him back to centre-back, and he had a brilliant year up to the final, if you like. So for me, Wexford have had, they have reasonable claims in terms of Matthew Hanlon and Liam Ryan, but when you weigh that up against the 6 that have been picked, it's correct in my opinion.
Yeah, and like Pádraig Maher is going to pick up his 6th award, Derek, tonight. He draws him level with Nicky English and Owen Kelly. What makes him one of Tip's all-time greats in your opinion?
Well, I think he just combines that ability to be able to go man to man, Tomas, and also be able to sweep up brilliantly. So would have learned even in the Munster final of 2015 when we were, Colin Dunford would come out as an extra midfielder for us, which would free Tig up. And then, invariably Pádraig Maher would find a way of freeing himself on the other side. And it's almost, it's the equivalent of you have to try and work the ball away from him, and I think it's a situation where he's just able to dictate the play. You saw this year when Waterford had Conor Gleeson sent off, again Pádraig Maher was free. And also his play, I think there's a versatility to his game. This year, early on in the All-Ireland final, I actually thought John Donnelly was giving him a bit of trouble. Seamus Kennedy goes over in that wing, he comes over on Walter Walsh, and he kind of goes man-to-man with Walter Walsh in a kind of a physical duel, and he's able to win physical duels as well as being able to do the sweet kind of striking stuff. And I think, just read an interview with him during the week, Tomas, there seems to be great maturity, about his approach. He's a Garda now. He seems to real steady in his own outlook on life. There's great perspective there in terms of, hurling, not being everything to him, but, it's important to him, but there seems to be a sense of balance to those Tipperary guys, the way they're approaching at the moment.
Yeah, that was certainly good to hear. He's certainly grown both as a player and a person, it's fair to say, Derek. And looking at midfield, you have Noel McGrath, Tipperary, and Diarmuid O'Keefe of Wexford. Was this a fairly straightforward selection, Derek?
Yeah, look, there's absolutely no debate about either two. Diarmuid O'Keefe's the heartbeat of Wexford all year, and Noel McGrath amazingly left out for nominations for Hurler of the Year, but been brilliant in every game. I think the only slight dip was the Munster final against Limerick, where the Will O'Donoghue and Cian Lynch seemed to get on top of the Tipperary pairing, but that was a kind of a malaise all over the pitch for Tipperary that day. But other than that, he's been consistency personified for the whole year, and I think he's the heartbeat in terms of, like, if you're playing Tipperary in the morning, I think you need to stop Noel McGrath, because the distribution to Callan and Bubbles and the boys really comes from Noel in terms of the type of ball that's been given in. So yeah, two shoe-ins in my opinion. Yeah,
turning to the forwards then, two from Kilkenny, TJ Reid and Colin Fennelly. First time winners then in Lee Chin of Wexford and Aaron Gillan of Limerick, and Seamus Callan of Tip, and Cork's Patrick Horgan complete the attack. Is Tip's top scorer Jason Ford unlucky here, Derek?
Yeah, he is, and I was only sitting at home on Wednesday during the midterm there, Tomas, and I just had a look at Waterford against Tip in the Munster Championship this year, and I was looking at Ford, and I was kind of saying, Jesus, did we get it completely wrong in terms of Ford and what he's brought? I think sometimes, because the spectacular is done by we say Bubbles and by Seamie Callan, there was so much focus on Seamie getting a goal a game that we've almost overlooked Jason Ford in terms of, not overlooked him, but sometimes his performances can fly under the radar. Even against Laois in the quarter-final, he was really, really powerful, in that game. And again, you balance that with where do you put him in? I think that the one bone of contention, and it's something that we would have discussed even when we were picking the Sunday game team of the year, is Colin Fennelly's positioning, and where do the selectors lie in terms of recalibrating their team to get the six best forwards in. And I think that's what the All-Star selectors have done, and that's what we did on the night, in that the six best performers overall are possibly in the forward line. And look, we can't be hypocritical. It was done a number of years ago. I think Kevin or Jamie Byrne and David Burke were picked in the middle of the field, and Kevin, although he's wearing 10 on his back, I think was picked at wing forward. So I think we've benefited from it in the past as well. So I think what's happened is Colin Fennelly has played no time on the wing at all this year, but yet he's been picked on the wing. But he was heading into the All-Ireland final. I think he was probably one of Kilkenny's best performers. And Lee Chin, he's lit it up for Wexford all year, and that full forward line of Gillan, Callan and Horgan practically picked itself. So hard to argue with it, except for Jason Ford. Even Adrian Mullen was going very well up to the final as well. Didn't go so well in the final. I thought Alan Cadigan had a brilliant year, off the bench for Cork in the second match against Limerick, and then was really a consistent scorer up to that. So these are guys, and Mark Kavanagh from Laois, centre forward at Laois. These are fellas that have all, for me, they all have plausible kind of reasons for feeling not hard done by, but I'd say there was tight calls there for the selectors and for the journalists involved.
Absolutely. And then in terms of hurler of the year, Derek, I suppose the three hotshots are in contention here. Seamus Callan and TJ Reid and Patrick Horgan. You mentioned earlier on that probably a few eyebrows raised that Noel McGrath wasn't included on this shortlist. Who was your hurler of the year?
Yeah, again, I can't be hypocritical. I would have gone for Noel McGrath in that. Again, I just watched the game back the other day that I was referring to, and I thought Conor Prunty did a very good job on Seamie Callan for a lot of that game. Waterford and Tipperary got a goal near the end, Seamie, all right. And I thought, the Laois full-back did well on him as well. So, look, he's been brilliant in terms of, consistent scoring of every... I think Seamie Callan will get it. I think, eyebrows are raised rightly so, because, it looks as if, from the outside, that the fact that there's not two Tipperary players nominated, that the votes now will not be split, if you like, and that Seamie Callan should kind of ramp home to the selection, if you like. But for me, Noel McGrath was one of the three, nominees definitely for hurler of the year, and I think Seamie will get it. Does he deserve it? I think he does deserve it, but I think that Noel would have been, his closest competition, shall we say, albeit Patrick Horgan had a phenomenal year and TJ Reid had phenomenal years as well. But it's just interesting that he hasn't made that trio, if you like.
Absolutely, and I suppose before I let you go, Derek, we have to ask you about a Ballygunner. They have a tough opener on Sunday in 6 Mile Bridge. It's a venue you're familiar with. Your De La Salle team came away with a result against Newmarket 7 years ago. Can Ballygunner do the same this time around?
I think they can, but I think they'll know. Dara is one of the shrewdest guys you'll meet, Dara O'Sullivan, and I think they'll know what faces them. Not alone from a tactical viewpoint, and not alone from the fact that they'll meet a really, really well prepared team and a real quality team. You look through that team, the Moreys, Cayman, Shane, Alex, Shane Gold and Jamie Shanahan, Colin Malone. It's sprinkled with inter-county talent. It's sprinkled with real talent. There's the home venue has to be a factor as well in terms of, not mind games or gamesmanship, but I'd imagine there'll be I'm not saying there'll be an empty dressing room waiting for Ballygunner or there'll be a barn dressing room, but I'd imagine everything will be set up to facilitate a 6 Mile Bridge victory from the 6 Mile Bridge point of view in terms of just having the place ready for a war, I feel like. So I think Ballygunner are prepared for that. They're well versed in terms of what will be ahead of them. It's a very interesting fixture, and for me, I think that it's actually not a season-defining fixture, but I think it's a fixture where if Ballygunner get over it, then I really think then their season can take off. It could be a really, really brilliant season on the back of if they won on Sunday, but it's a 50-50 game because there's brilliant talent on both sides, and I love what Ballygunner have done this year, Tomas, in that if you took Shane Walsh or Wayne Hutchinson or Harley Barnes or Brian O'Sullivan out of most club teams, you'd be struggling. But the ability to be able to fuse in, Paddy Levy's and the Conor Sheens and these guys almost seamlessly into the setup has been, I won't say it's been unnoticed, but I think it's added a real energy to their approach. Even the relocation of Shane O'Sullivan to wing back, Barry Coughlin was wing back the last time. They're very versatile, and I think one thing I'd say is, when we had it back to 2 points in the second half, we had a real chance, and then they just kind of pressed on the accelerator, and I think they played hurling in that last 15 minutes against ourselves that I hadn't seen in a long time from any club team, and I think there's a lot of lazy analysis around Ballygunner, around Waterford, and that people often point at the numbers. There's huge numbers out in Ballygunner, and I think it's people lose sight of the work they do and the quality of the people involved, and the standards that they set. I think it's something that we all would look to kind of not emulate, but certainly they're a serious club and a serious outfit with a lot of good people involved, and I think they deserve great credit for what they've done this year. I think I could be right in saying that they've won under 12, 13, 14, 15. Minor, they're in the under 19. They're in the intermediate final and they won the senior. It's incredible what they're doing, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon in terms of the quality that they're producing. And I think that you have to be admired for what they're doing.
Exactly. Well, Derek, thanks a million for your time today, and catch up with you again very soon.
Not a bother, Tomas. Not a bother, right?